All right, guys, we're going to jump into this PowerPoint. So now, we went through kind of the pre-inspection sheet, right? The easy kind of questions asked the customer. Now we're going to talk about measuring. So measuring the home. All right. So tools we're going to use. So as a territory manager, this is what you're going to need to provide for your territory manager. A measuring wheel, a price list, a tablet, calculator, clipboard, expanding file folder like we talked about, and then your company portfolio. Who in here has a company portfolio right now that you're using? 1, 2? Well, of course, my guys. All right, so not a lot, right? Because we don't think about these things. We just go and do the quote and, present it. I'm going to show you guys how to bring some value to your customers here. So these are things you're going to need. Of course, a presentation folder. I like doing presentation folders because I'm going to put my quote in it. It looks a little bit more professional, and when they have to talk to their husband or wife, it's something they can use, to kind of go through with that. And then you obviously need a pre-inspection sheet like we talked about, right? Because that pre-inspection sheet is going to cost, or it's going to save you some money, right? All right, so here's your basic house. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure the length times width. Guys, I make it easy. I just length times width. Measure everything in boxes. So the garage sticks out, so we will measure the garage first. So see how the garage protrudes from the house? So I just do length times width on the garage, which was 25 by 12. Next, we will measure the back of the home. So the back of the house was 38 across. Next, we'll measure down the right side of the home, which is 28 feet. And see how it kind of pops out a little bit? I'm not worried about that. If you were to bring that wall out, you're still cleaning the same amount of surface, right? This is all worked into my square footage price. I've had guys that, were builders, or, they brought out the blueprints and they're like, that's not the square footage of my home, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, it's all worked into my square footage, because they want to get down to the nitty gritty. So we don't even give them square footage prices anymore. This is the price for your home, but this is the way we measure it. I don't show that to the homeowner anymore because you just never know. They're like, this is my living space. No, well, this is your actual square footage of your home, including your garage and stuff, right? So you might run into that kind of stuff. But total square foot is $13.64 times 17 cents. I charge 17 cents a square foot for vinyl siding. If you guys want to flip to the back, to the pricing sheet on the back, go ahead and write 17 cents in there. Now again, this varies. You northern guys, right, are going to be a little bit more higher priced. So you're going to be maybe 20 cents or something like that up there. But you got to know your market. And as you get your pricing, sometimes you want to, keep raising until you start getting people that are bucking the system, if you will, right? And you're going to keep trying to go up higher because you want to work. You want to do less work for more money, right? All right, so the total square foot at 17 cents comes to $231. But guess what? Our minimum for a house wash is $350. So even though it measures out to $231, I'm still going to treat that house for $350, right? Because we're treating the home. I used to detail cars for $250 a car. We're talking about a person's home now, right? It's a little bit bigger, but this is their most important investment, their expense, right? So you want to make sure that you're adding the value. But look, $350 is nothing to treat your home. We're detailing the home. So no, if this was 2 stories, you multiply by 2. So for every story, you multiply by 2. If it's 3 stories, times 3. If it's 1 story in the front and 2 on the back, I'm going to do a 1.2 factor, right? Does that make sense? All right. So a basic roof. So roofs have a $450 minimum. In the price sheet, you'll see that highlighted. $450 minimum on a roof. Why? Because if I got to make a batch, and this was back when I was one batching, I had to make a whole batch of roof cleaning, of roof cleaner to treat that roof, so we had a minimum. I had to make it anyway. Whether I used it or not, it's going to go bad. So you have to have a minimum, right? Because that's money wasted. So that's where we came up with the $450 minimum. So again, length times width. Add for pitch. So, and you'll see the pitch guide in the pricing sheet. Most custom homes are like a 1.4. When you get really steep roofs, you're at like a 1.6. But most of your houses are going to be a 1.4 pitch. So that 1364 square foot times 1.4 for pitch comes to 19 total squares at $26 a square, comes to $494. So it hits our minimum, right? So this is a very small house in comparison to what our target market is, but this was an easy one to measure just for measuring purposes. All right, so here's your driveway now. So does that make sense though, guys, on the roof? Everybody getting that? Okay, we're going to go more into detail out in the field. We're doing the basics, like I said, right now. So here's your driveway. Measure the length times the width. So it was 85 by 12. We got 1,020 square foot at 17 cents for concrete. Came to 173.40. So remember to always measure in squares. So break large areas into smaller squares. Don't overthink it, because you'll get driveways that have the loop and everything, you know, or they'll kind of come out and go like this and get wide and skinny and all this stuff. Don't worry about that. We're not laying concrete. We're just cleaning it. Now, if you're sealing it, then you got to get the exact squares, right? But I'll just measure it around and get, you know, the I don't know what you call it, but the what's the word? Perimeter, yeah, of that area. Thank you. And then I'll just get the squares of that, right? So pool decks are the same way. Sometimes you got the pool. Some people will get really calculated. They'll measure just length times width, and then they'll take the circumference of the pool out of the equation. I don't get into that. I'm just going to measure my length times width on the left side and the right side, and then just double it, right? Because it's the same side, left on the left and the right side of the pool. Make it easy on yourself. Does that make sense? So if you got a square but you got a pool in the middle, measure your walkway going down the left side, right? Length times width, and then get that square footage, and you know it's the same side on the other side, so just double that by 2, and then do this one, and then by 2, right? So then I just got all the concrete around the pool. Make it real easy. Some people are like, well, yeah, okay, let's do this, and they break it all down, and they get, you know, how long the pool was, and they take it out of the measurements and stuff. I just make it super easy. All right, and then windows. So soft washing windows, $5 to $9 per window. When we're doing like water-fed pole, I'm around $9 for those. And then your squeegee or windows are going to be a little bit more, so $8 to $12 per window. And then the water-fed pole, $8 to $12. High areas require more time, more reach. If we're doing a lot of ladder work, we're going to be at that higher dollar per window price. And again, this is going to vary, right, with your area. And again, I'm not like we don't promote window cleaning. So I'm not going to say I'm a window cleaner. We just add on the service with the house washing. We're going to do the pure water. We're not a full out window cleaning company. So for your window cleaning companies, you're like, what are you doing, Pat? No. But again, this is just a good way to upsell windows while you're soft washing the home. So check for damaged seals. You know, a lot of times you get that condensation in the window. Make sure you're asking those questions, you know. Look for that kind of stuff. And then you have your wood decks. So measure length times width on the flat surface. And you know, we talked about doing the underneath. So if this was a taller deck on a 2-story and you want the underneath, just charge double. And if you want to add a little bit more on for the beams going across, you can do that. Then I measure linear foot for the rails. So I do $1 per linear foot on the rails. So if I'm already measuring this deck, you know, length times width, what did I just do already? I got my measurements for my railings. So this one does jet out a little bit more, right? Just a little bit. But I pretty much got the measurement of my railings because I already did the length times the width. So I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Same with the house. When I'm measuring a house, I'm going to measure the side of the house. I'm also getting my gutters, and I'm counting my windows, so I'm not walking around the house 100 times. Customer's like, what is he doing? He must be running laps, you know? So kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And then under deck is the same as the top. Lattice is also length times width. We do it at 34 cents a square foot on the lattice. So you can write that in your pricing sheet. Because lattice is more work. You know, it could be a pain in the butt. It could be thick. You have to get every side of the lattice. You know, if you're just treating it, it's not too bad. But we're at 34 cents. And then restoration is on the price sheet. So restoration is on our price sheet. It is more if they want to restore it. If they're putting a sealer on, you know, we talked about that. We can do that. Then we're going to talk about brick retaining walls. So again, length times height. So I'm going to run the length times the height. Now, if it's like it starts at 3 feet and goes up to 10 feet, how are you going to measure that? How are you going to get the square footage, right? You get your average height. Or you could do it kind of in sections too. You know, go from here and get the height here and then do it and break it into little pieces. You're still going to get the same amount of square footage. So you could break it down. Look for efflow stains. Does everybody in here know what effervescence is? So it's the white stuff that actually comes out of the brick. It's a pain in the butt to remove. It will not come off with a general cleaning. You have to restore it. Again, that's that cleaning over restore. So if they have the efflow stains on there, you got to go ahead and tell them, look, it's going to be an upcharge. We're going to buy a specialty cleaner for it. It's going to take more time to get it off. Can we get it off? Yes, but it's only going to come out 80%. It's that magic 80%. Yes, sir.
When you're pricing something like that, it could take a lot more than you think to get it off. So do you have like a per application, this price is 3 applications, or it's just a total?
I don't. What we do is like $4, I believe. I'll have to look at the pricing sheet. I haven't quoted one in a while, but I believe it's like $4 a square foot. So it's kind of built into that price. Again, it's restoration, so just charge high. So if you do have to do 3 applications, it's built into the price. You don't have to go back to the customer or say, you know, first application is X, but it might take 3 applications. We don't know yet. So I just build it all into the price. You know what I mean? Yeah. Make it easy on yourself. Rust stains are extra too. Red clay stains are included with the foundation of the home, not all the time in the driveway. If it's all covered in red clay, I might charge a little bit more for that, right? But in the foundation, I include it. On walkways, I'll include it because it's just a light acid application and it comes off a lot of times. All right, so gutters in and out. Gutters are measured by linear foot. Interiors include a 5-point inspection. So when my guys are out there, we're going to check the corners, we're going to check the seals, the end caps. We're going to make sure it's draining. We run the water hose in there, make sure that it's draining to the drainage to the ground. I do not guarantee anything that's underground because then you're talking roto-rooter stuff, you know what I mean? But everything that's in the downspout, I want to include, you know what I mean? If we got to take it apart, we were doing an apartment complex now in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I had to take the whole downspout off, the whole thing. I mean, I was holding up a root this big, you know, as tall as me. So you got to inspect those things. Because if you don't inspect, they're going to be overseen, and then they're not going to get cleaned out properly.
Patrick, how are you guys cleaning gutters? Are you using ladders, or are you using?
We're doing ladders and bags. So we do it the old school way. I don't use any pressure washer or anything because I don't want to blow out the seals. My competitors do that residentially, right? So residentially, I'm just hand doing it. People love the old-fashioned hand doing it. Some guys are using gutter vacs. I love gutter vacs too. They work. Some areas they don't work. Don's got one in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, they do work, but sometimes they don't, you know. Then we're going to get up there with a bag and put it in, you know, we collect all the gutter debris though, you know, let them know that. If we're doing apartment complexes, that's a different story. That's a walkable roof. We're tied in. I take the backpack blower and I just blow it out. And we could do an apartment roof in 30 minutes, right? So, but residentially, they're more picky. You don't want that stuff in their gardens, you know what I mean? So then we go above and beyond. We let them know, hey, we're going to bag it, that kind of stuff. All right, so we're checking for the level, right, on the gutters. Are they draining properly? We're going to let them know. We're not, you know, we don't install gutter or anything, but we're going to let them know it's not draining properly. If they have a low spot, whatever it may be, you want to let them know. Checking for damage, checking downspouts, checking fasteners, you know, if they're rusted out, you know, maybe they're pulling away from the house, that kind of stuff. Sometimes we'll do small repairs. Sometimes. But again, you want to have a standard because if your territory manager is like you're going to fix the gutter and then you don't put it on the special instructions, guess what's not going to happen and what's the customer's going to say, right? So you got to make sure you're putting that stuff in the special instructions. If you promise something to the customer, you got to put it on the sheet. It's got to be in the system. It's got to be on the quote. The technicians need to know. You're relaying the message from the homeowner to the technician. You're the middle guy. So if you're like, yeah, we're going to do this, yeah, we're going to do that, and then shoot, you forget to do it, it ain't going to get done. And then you're going to have, you know, customers be like, you told me they were going to do this, and then, you know, you're going to get that bad phone call. All right, so if you quote interiors, always quote exteriors. Why? Why do you think we do that?
So that they don't assume it's included?
Yes. So they don't assume it's included. You want to always quote both services. That way they know if they decline the interiors or the exteriors, either way, It's declined on the quote sheet. Ma'am, you declined it, but we can add it on for you.
What do you guys charge for between the inside?
Inside starts at $1.25 and then goes up per story, per linear foot. Yep, $1.25 per linear foot, and then $1.75 and $2 for like 3 stories and that kind of stuff. And you'll see more of that out in the field too when we do the quote. But you want to avoid confusion, guys. Communication. Communication is key when doing this. So as the territory manager, you're building that relationship with the customer, letting them know, boom, 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 boom. And we're going to talk more about the disc profile too. Greg, can you grab me a marker? I need a marker for this pad. There's something that needs to be noted, but you want to always communicate to that customer. All right, so screen porches. Quote, so it's quoted the same as a deck. So the screen porch is quoted as same as the deck. So obviously you have a deck, right? A lot of times the floor is a deck. So quote the same as the deck, length times width for the floor and ceiling. Add up all the screens. I charge anywhere from $5 to $15 per screen, depending on how big. Those are $10 screens. So all you do is count the screens, $10, inside and out. And we rinse them sideways. I don't blast them, right in between because it's just not going to do anything. You want to hit them sideways so they actually clean and run down, and they get a lot cleaner if you run them sideways. Note, when you're doing gutter exteriors, we have to keep the screens wet because sometimes a little bit of the paint will come off the gutter, and it can stain the screens depending on how old the gutters are. So when you're cleaning that, the paint will get on there, and guess what? You just painted the screen. You have to use gutter butter and more work to get it off, and sometimes it doesn't come off. All right, so tall screens are 10 to 15 each. Keep in mind there is debris or dog hair to charge 5 cents more per square foot on your decking, because sometimes dogs will get in there and, oh my goodness, you got to use a knife to get it out of the cracks of the deck, and you're like blasting. Oh man, it's a pain in the butt. So we charge more, right, for that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. That's in our pricing sheet as well. And then look for oxidation and upsell. A lot of this stuff is aluminum, aluminum around the screen enclosures. That gets oxidized. So you can upcharge for, removing the oxidation and really getting it good because it'll dull that metal out.